A moral story about life. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, there lived a king who was famous for his great wisdom and for being very fair to all of his subjects. His son, however, was known for quite the opposite. He was extremely selfish and greedy, and never thought about anyone but himself. One day, the king fell seriously ill, and knowing that he might die soon, he summoned his two sons to his bedside. "My sons," he said to them, "I am now very old and weak, and it is time for me to pass on the responsibility of this kingdom to one of you." The king's two sons immediately started arguing with each other. "It should be me, not you," said the elder to the younger. "You are too selfish and greedy to be king," replied the younger. They kept arguing like this for a long time until their father interrupted them. "That is enough," he said sternly. "The two of you cannot agree on who should be king, so neither of you will become king." Then the king did something that shocked both of his sons. He called for his royal advisors and told them to bring a big pot full of water into the room. Then, taking his youngest son by the hand, he continued, "This kingdom is like this pot of water. Whoever is able to carry it on his back will become the king." The sons looked at each other. This was ridiculous, but what choice did they have? So they agreed. The king then stepped back and watched as his sons struggled to carry the pot of water. Of course, the pot was extremely heavy, and neither of them could carry it for long. After a while, the older son put the pot down and said, "I can't carry this. It's too heavy." The younger son didn't say anything. He just kept struggling to carry the pot. After a few more minutes, he too had to admit defeat. "All right," said the king. "Since neither of you can carry the pot on your back, let us try something else." The king then asked the servants to bring in two smaller pots filled with water. He then asked his sons to carry these two pots on their backs. Again, the older son gave up after a while, but the younger son managed to carry his pot all the way around the room without spilling a single drop. "Very well," said the king. "Let us try one last time." This time, the king asked the servants to bring in a single pot with just a little bit of water in it. Then he asked his two sons to carry it on their backs. Now this pot was very light, and both of them carried it around the room without any difficulty. When they came back to the starting point, the king spoke. "Do you know why I made you carry these pots of water?" Both shook their heads. "I wanted to teach you an important lesson about life," said the king. "When a person dies, they are only given a small amount of energy to use in their next life. Those who use this energy wisely and carefully will have a good life, but those who waste this energy will be unhappy throughout their lives." The king then pointed to the younger son and said, "You were given lots of energy when you were born, but since you wasted it all trying to be greedy and selfish, you will live your life as a beggar." Then, turning to the elder son, the king said, "You weren't blessed with as much energy as your brother, but since you used what you had wisely, you will live your life as a normal, happy person." And as the first rays of sunlight hit his face, the king died, leaving behind a huge fortune for his sons to share. The younger son read the note and threw it out the window. "What does a beggar need money for?" he said. As he walked out of the palace, the people noticed him and started throwing their jewelry and gold coins at his feet. The young man picked up everything that the people offered him, and soon he had gathered a huge pile of riches. "So much gold and jewelry," he thought. "Now I don't need to beg for food. I can buy all the delicious food that I want." And that is exactly what he did. Every day he hosted huge feasts, inviting all of his friends and relatives. He lived the life of a king without ever stepping foot inside the palace. Meanwhile, the elder son became the ruler of the kingdom. But even though he lived a simple life, he was content with what he had, and he ruled over his people wisely. He always remembered his father's words and tried his best to make the kingdom prosperous. Many years passed, and the younger son grew tired of wasting his fortune. All of the gold and jewelry that he had collected meant nothing to him anymore. He missed the days when he would wake up in the morning not knowing if he would have food to eat or where he would sleep that night. He also realized that even though his brother was not as wealthy as him, he was truly living the life of a king. One day, the former beggar knocked on the palace doors and asked for a job. The king was surprised to see his brother asking for a job, but he accepted him and gave him a position in the royal court. For many years, the two brothers worked together for the good of the kingdom. One day, the king fell seriously ill and summoned his two sons to his bedside. "My sons," he said to them, "I am now very old and weak, and it is time for me to pass on the responsibility of this kingdom to one of you." The two brothers immediately started arguing with each other. "It should be me, not you," said the elder to the younger. "You are too selfish and greedy to be king," replied the younger. After listening to his sons, the king felt a deep sadness in his heart. He had been so proud of them when he divided the kingdom between them, but now it seemed as if his plan had failed. "That is enough," the king said sternly. "The two of you cannot agree on who should be king, so neither of you will become king. Instead, I leave this kingdom to my advisors. They will rule until one of you learns the most important lesson about life." The sons looked at each other. What lesson could be more important than the one their father had taught them all those years ago? The king took a deep breath and continued. "That lesson is that a true leader doesn't need to be the strongest or the smartest. A true leader is someone who is willing to serve others selflessly." Then, as the first rays of sunlight hit his face, the king died. The two brothers looked at each other and knew that they had to change if they wanted to take over the kingdom. They realized that their father had given them the greatest gift possible, the gift of wisdom. From that day on, they devoted their lives to serving their people. They organized schools to educate the children and built hospitals to take care of the sick. They also created jobs for the poor and made sure that everyone in the kingdom had enough to eat. Years went by, and the people of the kingdom prospered under the rule of the two brothers. They were so grateful for the kindness of their leaders that they built a statue of them in the center of the capital city. The statue depicted the two brothers carrying a pot of water on their backs, a reminder of the important lesson their father had taught them. The brothers ruled the kingdom together for many years. They disagreed on some things, but they always managed to come to an agreement. They knew that they had to work together if they wanted to continue their father's legacy. And so they did, until they grew old and passed the kingdom on to their sons.